Good day. In this video, we will discuss how to measure fracture toughness and what controls it. Here are the main topics. First, we will discuss how fracture toughness is measured, including standard test methods and specimen geometries. Second, we will look at typical fracture toughness values for common engineering materials to give you a sense of scale. Finally, we will examine how different factors such as sample thickness, temperature, and environment affect fracture toughness. By the end of this video, you should have a clear understanding of both how we measure toughness and what controls it in real materials. To measure fracture toughness in a consistent and reliable way, we use standardized specimen geometries. Two of the most common configurations are the compact tension specimen and the single-edge bend specimen. The compact tension test is efficient in terms of material usage and is widely used in laboratory settings. The single-edge bend test uses a simple three-point bending setup and is often preferred for larger samples or weldments. The key idea here is that these standardized geometries ensure that the stress state at the crack tip is well defined and reproducible, which is essential for obtaining meaningful fracture toughness values. Let's now look at how fracture toughness is measured in practice. We start by preparing the specimen. A notch is first machined, and then a fatigue pre-crack is introduced to create a sharp crack tip. This is important because fracture mechanics assumes a sharp crack. Next, we choose the appropriate analysis framework. If the material behavior is mostly elastic with a small plastic zone, we use linear elastic fracture mechanics and obtain K1C. If significant plastic deformation occurs, we use elastic plastic fracture mechanics and characterize toughness using the J-integral. For the J-integral approach, the first step is to record the load displacement curve during the test. This curve contains both an elastic portion, which is linear, and a plastic portion, which is nonlinear. To track crack growth, we periodically unload the specimen. The slope during unloading gives us the compliance, which is related to the crack length. As the crack grows, the specimen becomes more compliant. Using standard calibration relations, we can convert compliance into crack length. Once we have the load displacement data and crack length, we can compute the J-integral. The J-integral has two contributions. The first is the elastic part, which is related to the stress intensity factor. The second is the plastic part, which comes from the area under the load displacement curve and represents the energy dissipated through plastic deformation. By combining these two contributions, we obtain the total J value, which characterizes the driving force for crack growth under elastic plastic conditions. Once we have J and the corresponding crack extension, we can construct the JR curve. For each loading step, we know both the J value and how much the crack has grown. Plotting J versus crack extension gives us the resistance curve, or JR curve. At small crack extensions, the initial portion is often referred to as the blunting line or blunting curve. This represents crack tip blunting before significant crack growth occurs. As loading continues, the curve transitions to stable crack growth, where the material's resistance to crack propagation becomes more apparent. To extract a toughness value, we follow a standard ASTM procedure. An offset line is drawn, and its intersection with the JR curve defines JQ. Up to this point, we have been discussing fracture toughness based on fracture mechanics using parameters like K1C and the J-integral. The Charpy test is fundamentally different. Instead of measuring a fracture toughness parameter, the Charpy test measures the absorbed impact energy during fracture. It uses a notched specimen and a pendulum to apply a high strain rate load. Because the specimen is not pre-cracked and the stress state is not well controlled, the result is not a true fracture toughness value, so there is no direct conversion between Charpy energy and K1C or J. The Charpy test is best viewed as a fast, practical screening tool widely used to assess material behavior under impact and to study effects like the ductile to brittle transition. This animation shows how the Charpy impact test works. A notched specimen is placed horizontally and a pendulum strikes it at high speed. The energy absorbed during fracture is determined from the loss of pendulum height after impact. This absorbed energy reflects the material's resistance to impact loading. Here we show typical fracture toughness values for different material systems arranged from brittle to ductile. Glasses and ceramics have the lowest toughness because they lack plastic deformation and are highly sensitive to flaws. Polymers can deform significantly, but their relatively low strength and stiffness limit their fracture toughness, so they typically fall in a moderate range. Moving to metals, aluminum alloys show moderate toughness, while titanium alloys and steels exhibit much higher values due to their ability to sustain plastic deformation at the crack tip. How to improve fracture toughness from a microstructural standpoint. For metals, taking steels as an example, reducing impurities such as sulfur and phosphorus is critical since they form inclusions and segregation sites that can initiate cracks. In addition, deformation mechanisms such as trip can significantly enhance toughness by providing sustained strain hardening and additional energy dissipation during deformation. For ceramics, toughening relies heavily on microstructural design. In fiber-reinforced systems such as silicon carbide composites, a weak interface between the fiber and the matrix is critical. This allows crack deflection, fiber pull-out, and bridging, which greatly increase energy absorption. Transformation toughening, such as in zirconia, is another important mechanism where phase transformation helps resist crack growth. For polymers, toughening is typically achieved by introducing mechanisms such as crazing and shear banding through rubber or particle additions, as well as fiber reinforcement for crack bridging. So overall, the key idea is that toughness is improved by activating mechanisms that dissipate energy and resist crack propagation at the microstructural level. Next, we will discuss how different conditions affect fracture toughness. The effect of thickness is our good old friend. As sample thickness increases, the stress state at the crack tip becomes more constrained, transitioning from plane stress to plane strain. Under plane strain, plastic deformation is suppressed, leading to a lower and more conservative fracture toughness. Temperature can strongly influence fracture toughness, especially in metals. For FCC metals, fracture toughness decreases gradually as temperature decreases, but the materials generally remain ductile. In contrast, BCC metals exhibit a ductile to brittle transition temperature, or DBTT. Below this temperature, fracture toughness drops sharply and the material becomes much more brittle. Irradiation generally reduces fracture toughness in metals. At the same temperature, an irradiated material typically exhibits lower toughness than the unirradiated material. Another way to view this is that irradiation shifts DBTT to higher temperatures, which is undesirable. For example, a steel that was originally ductile at room temperature may become brittle after irradiation because the DBTT has increased above room temperature. To summarize, fracture toughness is measured using standardized methods such as the compact tension test or single edge bend test, while the Charpy test serves as a practical screening tool for impact resistance. We also developed a sense of scale of toughness values across different material systems. In general, ceramics exhibit the lowest fracture toughness. Polymers are typically tougher than ceramics, and metals, especially structural alloys such as steels, show the highest toughness. Finally, fracture toughness is strongly influenced by external factors such as sample thickness, temperature, and irradiation environment. I would like to acknowledge NSFDMR and APAR-E for their support in making this educational video possible. In the next video, we will briefly discuss an emerging approach for measuring fracture toughness at small scales using microcantilever testing. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.